Hey guys, so me again, Jen speaking. Today's Ask Me Anything is all about my favorite subject or least favorite subject is running injuries, preferably prevention, but also how to get through them if you're suffering one. So we've had a few questions come through. I'm just changing the order of them slightly, just in case I do have to dash from here. Hopefully not. So I think this first one will actually help set up quite a few in the future. So I'm going to start with this one, which was it was an anonymous question about their Achilles. So I've had Achilles tendinopathy since November. I've been doing heel raises, hops, and stretches, but it's still sore when I run. Even just for a few minutes, is there hope? So yes, there is always hope. So Achilles tendinopathy is it's a general overuse injury. Normally, unless there's been like a moment of sort of impact where it's all of a sudden started hurting, generally it's caused by overuse. And that means either you've been ramping things up too much, or that's a bit unfair actually, you've been ramping things up too much for your Achilles tendon. So initially, like, heel raises, hops, stretches, they're kind of good things to do, but it depends what you've been stretching. But you're probably just loading something that's already agitated. So your Achilles tendon, it runs down the back of your leg, and your calf muscles basically join with that tendon to your heel bone, your calcaneus. Now, when that bit of the tendon becomes stretched beyond capacity, it tends to get a little bit damaged. So what you need is for it to heal, which will take time depending on age. And there's lots of different things that you can do for healing. So if you want my best advice to heal fast, sleep. Prioritize good quality sleep. Easier said than done in most adults, but improving your sleep quality is a good win for injuries across the board, because that is when you're going to rebuild and recover. So focus on sleep. Now, the other aspect is it is that Achilles tendon's been pulled in. I'm guessing this Achilles tendon has kind of like pulled gradually and damaged gradually over time, and it's being caused by the calf being too tight. So quite often we start stretching the calves, and quite often it does not change a thing, because the calves are already at the end of their tether, because they've been getting pulled, they are overworked. And now we're expecting them to be stretched and to do heel raises and to do hopping. So you're just, agitating them further, possibly. Sometimes these things work if it is a strength issue within the calf muscle, or if it is a stretch issue within the calf muscle. Generally, though, actually, what is going on is the calf is already overworking because something higher up is not doing its job, and it's normally within the hips. So if you imagine that the Achilles tendon is this is going to be an oversimplification, but if you imagine the Achilles tendon is 2 millimeters too short, and because it's 2 millimeters too short, it's getting damaged each time it's pulling on the heel bone. If you try and stretch that calf that's potentially already stretched and to the max that it can do, you're not even going to get that 2 millimeters. However, if you go up and stretch the hamstrings or stretch the quads, then you're likely to get more than that 2 millimeters, and that's going to make the difference. So stretching the hamstrings, stretching the quads are a great start. I always try and get it pain-free with stretching and get that range back before loading. Strength is needed. So stretching, getting it going, and then looking at strength. Quite often hip rotation strength is ignored. I do have biomechanics testing. If you go on jenkopic.com, if you find the biomechanics testing page, I've got some videos on there. You can check your hips out yourself. It can be a core issue and it can be a balance issue, and that's going to be a running theme throughout today. So yeah, Achilles tendinopathy, heel raises, hops, stretches, anything to do with the calf, it's not going to really work. You need to let it recover, good sleep, but also try and stretch your hamstrings, try and stretch your quads, and look at your strength that's going on in that area. And you will likely find it starts to resolve itself. Quite often, Achilles tendinopathy can be handled within a matter of weeks. It just depends, like I'm talking like 2 weeks. If you get the underlying issue, the reason why it's getting pulled and agitated, nailed, it can be done in as little 2 weeks. It's just working out what's going on underlying rather than just focusing on the calf or the poor Achilles, which is already suffering. So that is going to set us up for a lot of these other questions. I'm going to reply to Don first, who's asked, so my last 1 hour plus 10K, 20-minute run, 1 minute walk was pretty tough. Longest training run intervals were 5 minutes, and I use walking breaks to keep heart rate down on the long runs. Should I be running slower, no break, long runs? Ideally, yes. It really depends what you're training for. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit muddled on what you're doing. I think you've been doing 10Ks for over an hour. You've been running for 20 minutes and running for 1 minute, but before then you're only running for 5 minutes and now using walk breaks. What I always say is slow it down. If you're trying to increase your distance, slow it down. Once you've achieved the distance at the slowest possible pace, you can then start speeding it up. So you can start pushing it and then, heart rate skyrocketing or whatever, you can slow it down a little bit. Ideally, like slowing it down to a light jog over a walk is good practice, but it really does depend on what you're training for. Like in Ironman, quite often what people will do, because the marathon at the end of 112 miles bike is I have done one. I just try not to think back to it. So quite often what people do is they'll do a run walk strategy and they'll run for 9 minutes, walk for 1, run for 9, walk for 1, run for 9, walk for 1. And that actually simulates where the aid stations tend to be anyway. So you tend to time it so you're walking through an aid station, taking on fuel to get you around. So it's running and walking is a great strategy. But the other strategy is you just run slower. So if it's feeling tough, it's probably that you're in zone 3 or 4. Hopefully not 5, but 3 or 4. You ideally for your long run, you want to be trying to keep it in zone 2, so a chatty pace. So you should be able to talk. But again, it can depend because if you've I don't know how long you've been running for, so I don't know if you've only been running for a few months or whether it's been a few years. And again, I don't. There's a lot here that I don't know. But hopefully that's going to help. I'd look at slowing it down, thinking what's a pace you could run all day at. I'm trying to just do that, and it might feel ridiculously slow, but the great thing is like halfway into it, you could just speed it up a little bit, so you're in control. But setting off nice and slow and then building up into it is generally better than going too hard, too fast, finding it tough, and then having the psychological issues of I can't do this. You can if you can run for 5 minutes, you generally can run for 20. If you can run for 20 minutes, you could probably run for a good hour or two. Physiologically, you should be able to use those energy systems. So it's just getting through either the psychological, or the physical. So like muscles and stuff. It depends what's feeling tough. Is it because your legs hurt, or is it because you're out of breath? There's a lot going on that sort of with that quadrant side of things to know for certain. But try slowing it down. Keep me posted. Let me know on the next one how you get on. Going on to the other questions. So I'm going to try and keep these a little bit more concise because I feel like I've already set a few of them up. Ellie, so she's had plantar fasciitis. It keeps coming back even when resting. Why does it keep flaring on? What should I be doing instead? So very, very similar to the Achilles. So quite often Achilles tendonitis or tendinopathy and plantar fasciitis tend to go hand in hand. When somebody experiences one, they quite often experience both at some point. And it's all to do with, again, that poor calf muscle. There are other things going on, but the calf muscles pulled on the Achilles, pulled the heel bone a little bit too high, and now it's stretching the plantar fascia. That tends to be one of the key ones. Why does it keep flaring after rest? Plantar fasciitis is generally diagnosed by having somebody when somebody wakes up in the morning and they say my foot really hurts first thing in the morning. After rest, they've done nothing all night. Now their foot hurts. Is plantar fascia or plantar fasciitis. Then, you think resting it's going to fix it, but actually resting just kind of agitates it. So actually coming into it, working on, again, the calf strength, calf flexibility. So trying to improve the calf, the overuse of the calf by relaxing the hamstrings, stretching the quads, getting them to do the job. Generally, like plantar oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Generally, like plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis, they are normally because something higher up is not doing its job. It's just literally working out what it is. Plantar fascia, it can be foot control, so weak toe control or like stiff ankles. So doing some ankle drills can help as well. But I'd be looking at trying to get the pain gone with range and improving the range and stretching in the quads and the hips first. Quads and the hips, in the quads and the hamstrings. There you go. Stretching within the hips generally works first. Josh has asked taping versus strength for knee pain. So we're having this discussion last week. Which is going to be better, taping or just focusing on strength? I'd say both. Tape changes the feedback, so the body actually responds better to pain when there's tape around a joint. So having the tape on actually is like a reassurance. Having that sort of pressure makes the brain sort of happier, and the pain tends to ease. Also, tape tends to, it's the theory of tape is it goes on and sticks on and lifts slightly to allow a little bit more flow with fluids basically underneath the skin, and that helps to improve oxygen, nutrients coming to the tissue, but it also helps to I don't know. I lost exactly what I was thinking. Tape helps, but tape will not really offer any stability and support. So if you, like, for instance, the patella, the kneecap on the front of the knee, quite often the pain that you get in knees is because that's not aligning properly. Tape can help lift the tissues away and allow it to move properly a little bit. A brace would be better for knee pain. So if you are running and you're experiencing significant pain, having a knee brace on will help, and tape on, as well, or especially during recovery. But strength work is going to be the long-term goal. So adding that strength in to improve the basically the way that your hip is and hip. So if you imagine your knees like that, but if they're not aligning properly, it's normally because actually the hip is not angling your leg down quite correctly. So have a look at your hip stability. Do the taping. It'll help for pain management, but use the brace for stability. And if you need to, you have to do your strength work. Okay, so hopefully that's answered Josh. Rachel, postnatal return to running. So started running again after having a baby. What's the safest way to build back up and avoid injury? So once you've had a baby, obviously you've got to have clearance to sort of start running, really, from like the midwife. It depends whether you had a C-section or a natural birth. Make sure you've got your pelvic control and your core stability there. So making sure, you start doing walks, do a little tester jog. So, just jog for like a minute and just make sure that you're happy. You can do it just in a mid walk. Make sure that you're all happy there, and make sure that you recover okay. Because the last thing you want to do is do a jog for a minute, get home, and then the next day you're really sore. If you turn that 1 minute into 1 mile, that would be quite a big problem for you. So do a little tester. Generally, you want to build back up, but you don't possibly need to regress quite as far as you expect. You don't necessarily need to go, you know what, I need to start couch to 5K again. You probably don't. Your body probably remembers, but it depends whether you were running during pregnancy. It depends where you're at now. What I'd sort of say is do that tester for 1 minute, then think about what would be a light run. So would it be 10 minutes? Would it be 20 minutes? Would it be an hour? Then halve it and do that and see how that feels. So, if you're thinking, I think I could manage 5K, I think I could do it in half an hour, just try 2.5K and in about 15 to 20 minutes and just see how that feels as your first sort of run. wait up, give it 2 days, because, DOMS, aches and pains, it can take, it's not necessarily the next day, it can be the day after. So just make sure that you're not too sore or in a mess 2 days later, and then go from that. If you do that and it feels good after 2 days, then maybe go a little bit further. But just be sensible, be controlled, don't go crazy, and just give your body that, your body's done a massive thing. Give it that little bit of time, and prioritize, form over speed. So running quality over speed, or even distance. Just make sure you're kind of running well, and I reckon you're going to be absolutely fine. Darren, tight calves. See, I told you there was going to be a theme here. My calves feel tight after every run, even short ones, and stretching isn't helping. That's generally because the calves often feel tight because they are kind of one of the lowest parts of the body. They are the thing that is overworking for something else. So stretching them, they're probably already at maximal sort of length. The only way of improving that length and that capacity is to stretch something higher up, generally quads or the hamstrings. Also assessing your hip drive and stride pattern. So getting your gait assessed. Quite often when people are feeling like the calves aren't, stretching's not helping, there's a little bit of hip drop going on as they're running. Normally on one side as well, but can be both. So let me know how you get on with that. Have a go at stretching, or do the tests on my website. I will drop a link into the comments when this is finished uploading. So Sophie, hip pain. So Sophie's increased running recently and now getting hip pain. Could it be a technique issue? Hip pain, quite often actually. Pelvic control can break down under the load. So having like the deep stabilizers around the pelvis can often become strained. So I'd sort of check out your hip strength, in particular with rotation. So there's a really good move called the 90-90. Checking if you can sit in that position and push the leg back, raise the leg and push it back. Just improving that little bit of strength can help. Technique can be an issue, but technique is normally how you run is often normally dependent on what is going on internally in your biomechanics. So what your muscles are able to do or what they're capable of often dictates how you run. So you can do this yourself by practicing. If you're running along and then you imagine that you've got a shoulder injury and you round your shoulder, just that changing your shoulder changes how your body moves completely. So if there's a little bit of tightness in one of those, in one of the deep sort of hip stabilizers, your hips might become quite unstable on one side, or the other side might be significantly overworking. So have a look at your hip flexibility, have a look at your hip strength, have a look at the 90-90 pushbacks and seeing if you can push your leg back. So we've got Becky, stretching or foam rolling more. She's just always feeling like she's tight after runs. Should she be doing more of it? Tightness is normally caused by like two reasons, really. One is that things are too tight because they have overworked and they've shortened. Or that they're not long enough. So it depends whether they're overworking or underworking. Stretching is better. I say stretching is better. Foam rolling is. There's a lot of studies that argue in favor of foam rolling. There's a lot of studies that sort of say it doesn't really do anything. It's personal preference, really. If I had an athlete and they refuse to stretch, but they like foam rolling, then, roll with it. But if you had to choose one or the other, I'd always choose passive stretching. Holding a stretch and holding it for like a good minute will do the maximum good. Like when we're younger, we get away with not stretching and until we don't. So 30 to 60 seconds a stretch per position is optimal. if foam rolling can mask poor motor patterns. So, there is a danger that, it's not fixing the underlying thing. And again, I'd look at core control and hip control. So I will put the videos in the comments. Liam, daily icing for his Achilles. I've been icing my Achilles daily for months. Is that helping or just delaying proper recovery? Jury's out on that one. I've always been an advocate for ice. Ice helps pain, but it doesn't help with the root cause. But there are studies now that sort of says, does ice prevent healing? So don't know. I found it helped with pain management when I did my knee. I'd ice it pretty much every day. And every time I went for a run, I would ice it immediately when I got back, whether there was pain or not. I just knew I was going for a run. I would ice it when I get back, until about 3 months after, when I realized actually there is no cause for this. It doesn't hurt at all. But yeah, it's not fixing the underlying thing. It's going to help with pain management. It might be delaying recovery. It might not be, don't know. But yeah, your Achilles generally is being aggravated by probably something higher up. Checking your hamstrings and quads out, trying to get that range back. 90-90 test would be a good one for flexibility to check. And I do a really nice stretch video. It was on Stretch of the Week the other week, which is a seated full sign stretch. So I will pop that in as well for you, Liam. So going on to Carlos, foot posture confusion. I've been told I overpronate. Yeah, does foot posture really matter that much for injuries? Foot posture does count. And if you go to see a podiatrist, they will be quick to say foot posture is the cause of everything. But then you go to a biomechanics coach like myself, and foot posture is normally a result of everything else. So it's a bit like chicken and egg. Firstly, I'd be asking, who's told you that you overpronate? If it's a podiatrist that's told you, okay, listen. If it's the shoe shop, I'd be a bit more skeptical. Podiatrists do a degree just on feet. So I'd be listening to them. It's foot. So when you overpronate, your foot is supposed to pronate. Your foot is supposed to sort of like collapse inwards. That's how it absorbs shock. So pronating is a good thing. When you overpronate, it suggests that you're collapsing inwards more. Again, that might actually be quite normal for you. It depends whether you're getting any pain or any issues with it. And then it might be not. A lot of it's to do with timing. So as your foot lands, you want it to pronate. As you go over it, you want it to be in a more of a neutral stance. And then as you push off, you want it to actually supinate and go the other way to give you that power to push off. Quite often, how the knee is angled plays a part in how the arch is supported, and how the knee angle is depends on how you're going to guess it, the hip angle is. So again, quite often foot pronation can be adjusted just by looking at what's going on with the hips. Foot exercises tend to be really important, because once you sort of resolve what's going on with the hips and everything sort of settles, the foot's probably going to have atrophied. So it's going to have lost a bit of muscle and strength because it's been working differently for quite a significant amount of time, most likely. So actually working on your foot strength, sorry, banging the table. Actually working on your foot strength is going to help that. On to Zoe. Soreness or injury. How can I tell the difference between normal soreness and a potential injury starting? Generally, like, soreness fades. Injury doesn't. Injury tends to alter your movement as well. So if it's pain that's being consistent and it's not going, then it needs checking out. General soreness tends to kick in the next day or the next day. So within 48 hours. If you're sore within 48 hours, it's probably just soreness. If it's lasting 4 or 5 days, that'd be a bit of a red flag. If it's altering your movement, so if you're hobbling, normally, like with soreness in your leg or your foot, you're going to be walking a little bit. You're going to be maybe like wincing and maybe hobbling for a few steps, and then it's going to settle out and you're going to be okay. But if it's continuing. And if you've got this constant limp, or, you know, I'm assuming because it's a leg, if you kind of got this constant limp or something, I'd be getting it checked out. Also, you know, if pain was instant, so, you know, you've just been for a run, you get back, or halfway through the run, it's like, oh, this really hurts. If it's instant and it's affecting your movement, it's affecting how you walk, affecting how you walk. Don't run on it. Or there's sort of like a guarding going on. Then I'd sort of be like, let's get this checked out. Any redness, any swelling, any bruising, get it checked out. And let me just check. Yep, that is it. No questions on the live feed so far. Only Don. So I think that's been a nice, short, sweet one anyway. So hopefully that's helped. I guess I'll do a quick recap. So yeah, Achilles tendonitis, plantar fasciitis. You know, look at what's going on higher up. So in the quads and the hamstrings, the calf is normally overworked. So heel raises, hops, probably just going to aggravate it further. Strengthening and relaxing around the hips is going to be the best way forward. Taping will help with pain perception. Oh my gosh, I can't get my words right today. Taping will help with that pain. It'll help you perceive it less. The body likes to have something pressing against it. Running, postnatal running, prioritize core strength. Go for a little tester, just do like 1 minute run or light jog, and then weigh up after 48 hours how you respond. And yeah, so hopefully that has all helped. I will be sure to do another one soon. So I'll do a shout out a few days beforehand, so you can get some questions in. You can drop them through on email, or you can comment on any of the posts. I should see them before we go live. Thank you for putting up with me for another Ask Me Anything. I will see you all soon.